This week's edition of the Totally Rad Show is brought to you by NVIDIA Envision 08,
GoDaddy.com,
and Netflix.
Three rad dudes with nothing better to do get abducted by the crew of the Starship Alpha 2. They're from the planet Q, which, due to a space-time loop, is stuck in 82 and must be rescued. They need our heroes to discuss the latest news and give their reviews of games and movies too. Sure hope you're not confused. We swear this is all true, not just the premise too. The Totally Rad Show.
Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad, Totally Rad Show, Totally Rad Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Totally Rad Show, episode number 70. I'm Alex Albert.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg.
The Totally Rad Show's weekly dose of all things rad. We head down to some local conventions, cover, condense, and deliver the radness of E3.
Yes.
Big episode today.
Lots of content in video games, but that means we're not going to do like a green screen video game segment. It's going to be all, we're going to have every
Chock
single
full.
day of E3 that we attended
Chock fullsies.
for you.
Sit down with PM.
PM Dawn?
I love it, love it. Well, before we get into the awesomeness of the show, we want to talk about the awesomeness of Kyle Goodwin's background.
And extreme kind of crazy, bloody,
Mars,
wild.
spacey, amazing awesomeness.
Yeah. You said his name, Kyle Goodwin?
Kyle
You said-
Goodwin,
okay.
yeah, I did. So thank you, Kyle Goodwin. Let's get into talking about a movie and then get to the E3, shall we?
Yeah.
This week in movies, we're talking about Mamma Mia. Psych! No, we're not. We're talking about.
Good, because I haven't seen it.
We're talking
I was
about
gonna fake a whole review.
America. I was like, dude, you didn't go. Come
No,
on,
I wouldn't have said. I would have been
screen.
like, you know what's interesting? I didn't realize it'd be as much singing.
We should do the Sex and the City Mamma Mia episode of
Shit.
TRS.
I probably will see Mamma Mia, but that's another story.
All right, let's talk about this story.
American Teen is the movie we're going to talk about this week, and American Teen is poised.
So much more masculine than Mamma Mia.
American Teen is poised to be this summer's, hit documentary. It follows a group of high school teenagers, the only kind of teenagers, or
Dropouts, sadly, dropouts.
There do exist another kind. In a small town in Indiana. It's directed by Nanette Burstein, who was nominated for Academy Award back in the day for that boxing documentary.
The one about-
something like On the Ropes.
Yeah, it was like Girl Fight, the documentary, right? Wasn't it about
Might
lady
be.
boxing?
I don't know if it was a lady boxing thing. Anyway, but she also did the Kid Stays in the Picture.
Love that movie.
The Robert Evans documentary. So this is American Teen. We talked about what it was about. And what did you think of it, Jeff?
Do I love Kid Stays in the Picture? Sure, I do. Do I think American Teen is quite as good? Not gonna say that. American Teen, there is stuff to like about it. You know, it's hard to resist these kind of documentaries because as cliche-filled as it is about being a kid in America, what it is to be a kid in America is full of cliches. These cliches are right. I found myself, associating most with the nerd kid, and a lot of the stuff he does, where he sort of can't resist pointing out how much of a loser he feels like around girls, all that stuff. Those things resonate with me, and I'm sure lots of other people, because you did those things, you felt those things, or at least I did. So there are multi-facets to a lot of these kids, and you see, one side of them, and then you see kind of why that is. But having said all that, and it's funny, you laugh, and you feel like, I remember doing those things. But at the end of the day, this movie feels a little bit too much like a reality show. I felt like it was staged a lot. I felt like conversations only happened because the camera was there, or they recreated other sides of phone calls so you could hear. It felt It didn't feel like a documentary. It felt like a slightly better reality show. And I also really didn't like the animation stuff that they put in. So, not recommended. It's a movie that I think you'll like if you see it, but don't search it out. People are gonna go see Dark Knight this weekend. You know?
Interesting.
Or had just seen it this weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I liked it way better than Sprinklers during the show. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought air was escaping.
Sprinklers. No, I liked it better than Jeff, but I agree with Jeff.
I liked it pretty good. I mean,
okay.
No, I'm sorry.
I liked it better than Jeff.
I'm making a grammar joke.
But I didn't like the animation either, because I just felt it was so like out of place. I liked what it was trying to do, but it really pulled me out and made me realize that, oh, this is somebody who's like a director who's trying to make it like more than it is, you know, like,
Yeah.
well, but this is the part where you get to see how amazing of a director I am, because look at this quirky stuff that, but I actually really connected with the kids. I thought it was great. I never got the staged feeling. I mean, obviously, when you put a camera on anything, no matter how much you want to not have it affected, it will be affected. So I sort of forgave the fact that these kids were literally being filmed, and when a teenager is being filmed, they're gonna be a little heightened, so I just kind of, you know, that was part of the lens I looked at it through. But at the end of the day, I thought it was really sweet. I thought it was really sort of informative and eye-opening as to what teens go through today. Like the fact that they were texting so much and calling, and there was so much internet stuff and email and stuff. Like all that stuff to us was like.
Did it make you feel old?
No, not at all. But I mean, it just was an interesting glimpse into a teenager. I mean, it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't make me go, wow, I'm not a teenager. It just meant, wow, that's what teenagers go through. Mine was a little different. But then you also find sort of where you sit. And then it's one of those things where I always love these stories because I think as adults, we look at teens that when we were teens, we looked up to. And now as adults, we see that those are the people who are the least educated, the most afraid, the least self-confident. And it's interesting to see that it's all a scale of,
perspective.
Yeah, it's like, and it's also a scale of
Function of time, really.
Yeah, but it's also a scale of a gray scale of lack of self-esteem. Mm-hmm. That there's nobody that is actually self-confident
In
as
high
a
school.
teen.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of good to see that as an adult.
Yeah, I really agree strongly with both of you guys.
I love it when that happens.
It's definitely
Sometimes impossible.
The movie's marketed as the documentary version of Breakfast Club, and it delivers on that promise. And everyone really does start off as cliches, as you said, but those cliches really are true. And you, just like in the Breakfast Club, where you realize the prom queen, there's a darkness to her, and the geek, there's a brightness to him. Like it's got all of those things. And the people that I hated in the beginning of the movie, I really empathized with and was upset over at the end of the movie. Yeah. But it's definitely not the kind of documentary it's not made in the way that, it's not documentary style filmmaking that I like. I don't love the animation stuff, but I do like it in like Super Size Me and the Michael Moore stuff. But in this one, you're right, it didn't work, and I agree with the points you guys made. I also did feel some of the recreation, they looped a lot of lines. I don't think that they asked people to have certain conversations, but I think they missed conversations, and they asked them to sort of fill in the gaps of what, or they recreated that, or did some looping, and for me, I would have rathered it remain gritty. I would have rathered it remain raw. So if I missed that, if I only hear this person talking on the phone, let me get that. Mm-hmm. Let me kind of fill in the gaps on my own. That's the kind of stuff I like in documentaries. You don't need to give me her recreating the same thing she said. And that same thing happened with the text messages and all that. Ultimately, I don't think it's better than my favorite True Life episodes or my favorite episodes of Made on MTV.
Right. It felt like a really long Made episode.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that? I think there's a lot of viewers of our show that are sort of that age now. Mm-hmm. How do you think that watching that at that age would be? Because we are coming at it from a perspective of, oh man, I've been through that and I remember it. But
Well, I loved Breakfast Club as a kid. I would say it's definitely worth seeing. And I mean, I don't know if it's worth seeking, but but it's a good. I think it's good. It's a shame it's not great.
It's a really good way to put it. It's worth seeing, not seeking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Which is a
really
shame
cool.
because this is a movie that
Unless you seek
needs
it,
to
you
be
will never
survives.
see it. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Unless you seek it, it will never be seen.
Yeah. But check it out. All right. So, in other news, Comic-Con is next week. We've already got sprinkles of news leading up to it. We have a Watchmen trailer,
Indeed we do.
Terminator 4 Salvation trailer. We have Star Trek leaks of the posters for Star Trek, the new J.J. Abrams Star Trek. We're going to talk about all of that, specifically Watchmen, much more in depth, because we're actually going to be seeing
on stage live at Comic-Con is where we're going to be talking about that, Dan?
Yes.
What did you know?
So, yeah, we're allegedly going to be seeing scenes or sequences from Watchmen at Comic-Con. So, we had a taste of the trailer. I want to briefly, very briefly, just a little bit of how you thought about that taste, but more importantly, of all the things that we're supposed to see. Maybe we might get some Darren Aronofsky RoboCop news. We might see some more Friday the 13th. Michael Bay produced The Wolfman, that Benicio del Toro Wolfman. Rick Baker's going to be there at Comic-Con. Hopefully we can attend that. What are you most excited for to see at Comic-Con, and what do you think of all this stuff? Terminator, we may not see at Comic-Con, so you can talk to me about the trailer that just was released.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like everything that I was excited about last year at Comic-Con is like hitting me in the face right now, and so I don't even know what to be excited about. You know what I mean? Like Watchmen stuff, cool. Wolfman, cool. Terminator, cool. Robo, cool. But it's like I'm so still in the mindset of being blown away that there was Hulk stuff and the Iron Man stuff and Dark Knight stuff, and there was some Watchmen stuff even back then. So it's like I haven't even put the hat on of here's the stuff that we're gonna see at Comic-Con. Get prepared, little man.
It's definitely this year. It's a shame that we didn't get to see Dark Knight, and we saw a little bit we heard about Hulk, we didn't see anything. This Comic-Con is happening in an awkward time where it's happening post some major releases as opposed to right before.
So I don't know if I'm a good person to talk about, but maybe you've got more stuff.
For me, this might not be fair to the movie, but I'm most excited about seeing Watchmen stuff because I don't have to worry about spoilers. The thing that I like most about being excited about Watchmen is that I can devour all the stuff leading up to it, and I don't feel like it's gonna ruin the film for me. And the reason I say I don't think that's fair is because I think the lens through which I'm gonna be watching Watchmen is, please just give me
what I want.
The graphic novel. I don't want you to add stuff, I don't want you to take stuff away. I want the rest of the world to see why I love this so much. And that's why I'm going to be going in, as a lot of geeks do, sometimes unfairly, and sitting down and going, don't F this up, And
from the trailer so far, do you think that it's been effed up at all?
the trailer I'm very excited about, but the only thing I'm worried about is that it almost looks too cool. It's almost too cool. And the thing I liked most about that image that we saw weeks ago of the old 1950s team, it looked so not cool. It looked like people got costumes out of their closets or sewed them themselves, and it's not the vacuum plastic, not the cool molded plastic helmets and stuff. And now this stuff is, and I don't think that's gonna ruin it. That's my only tinge of I don't know.
Well, I too have very mixed feelings about Watchmen, but I think I'll save it for when we see some actual sequences to aid it in bed and maybe conflict or.
What are you excited about?
I'll tell you what, Terminator, that trailer?
It looks great.
Well, first off, Christian Bale is the perfect person to cast as a post-apocalyptic hero.
Although
he has that look, man.
Now, the thing...
Edward Furlong wishes he grew up to be Christian Bale.
I wish I grew up to be Christian Bale. What are you talking about?
The thing, I had heard that Bale's only in near the end of the film.
Really?
That it's more.
That's certainly not what the trailer leads you to believe.
That's certainly not. I don't know if that
every
was
poster that's going to be coming out.
I don't know if you guys remember that Anton Yelchin was announced to be Kyle Reese. and he's that kid that was in Alpha Dog.
What else?
What else is he in? Steve, do you remember
Something I
the
may have
kid who's
seen.
in Alpha Dog? Oh, Charlie Bartlett, which we didn't see, but he's that kid. He's in something else that was great. He's a really strong young actor.
Well, anyway, so you're thinking it's going to lean more on his character than...
Yes, and I think that's what we're looking. I love that we're seeing Future War, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the
trailer looks great.
I'm not really worried at all, and I don't feel like it's gonna step on the 1 and 2 because it's so different. It's so not that 3 stepped on it because it was like future robot coming to the past. You know, it sort of respun the same story.
Yeah.
The fact that this trailer opens on that open road.
Yeah.
And the
that's very
It's like
Terminator.
Mad Max Terminator.
Well, no, that's the end of
I know,
every
no, I know,
Terminator
yeah.
is the road.
So we have to get out because there's so much E3 stuff.
Yeah.
But we didn't see Star Trek on the schedule, but I'm very excited for there to be some sort of surprising Star
Does
Trek.
Spock not look like
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect casting.
Yeah.
Perfect casting.
Okay, so we've had our first day at E3, hands-on with some huge titles already. We started the day off with Left 4 Dead, which is the Valve
Which may be my
multiplayer
favorite game in the
People who
history of
made it are
games.
walking by right now and they're going to hear us talking about it.
It's on a engine that is what, 3-4 years old. Looked spectacular.
Oh, dude. When,
the
when
time of
somebody
playing it
says Counter-Strike equals zombie movie is going to be good, I would say no, sir.
But it's
No,
so much
sir.
better than a zombie movie. It's like 28 weeks later. It's fast zombies.
Yeah. Oh, it's
It was
amazing.
basically like that great Gears of War mechanic where you have to help your buddy
Yes.
stay alive, but with 4-player co-op.
We did Puzzle Quest Galactrix after that.
Dude.
We're on record.
It's Puzzle Quest 2.0.
I know, but we were talking earlier. Like I'm glad that we didn't get Puzzle Quest 2. I'm glad we got this. I'm more stoked on the sci-fi take than like with the purple space like Battlestar does.
Yeah.
And we were tripping a little bit. It has a lot of those old Star Control mechanics of like trading, and it seems like a very
Getting
deep.
rep with the different
Yeah.
places, and it's, it was really cool.
The big deal. You should mention the big deal with that it's not hex.
It's not Hexic. It really is a.
It just looks like Hex.
It looks like
based on
Hexic,
the way they're doing.
but it's the bricks fall in from the side depending on where you're playing. It's not rotating the bricks like Hexic.
Yeah.
Then we went to Fallout 3.
I mean, essentially, it is, us taking everything that we learned from doing Oblivion on these 3 platforms, and then, taking it to a very different style of game, where it's not classic fantasy, it's, what if we do big post-nuclear? And you've seen Fallout, so you get kind of, it's not just post-nuclear, it's got this whole twist on it, it's got this great sensibility, and so, different character system, different way of playing the game, it's guns versus a lot of melee stuff. You do have melee, but it's not the emphasis it was in Oblivion, so it's a very different type of game, but you still have that general sense of, I can go wherever I want, I can do whatever I want, I can be whatever kind of character I want, and I get to make choices, and in Fallout, we try to take that a bit farther in terms of the decisions you get to make as a player, what kinds of things that you're going to be doing.
Those guys at Bethesda are really.
I mean, I went into this E3 thinking that was the #1 game that I'm excited about. I'm loving what I saw. In fact, I thought what they showed at the Microsoft press event was not as impressive as when we went and actually got to sit down with it. Then we went to Nintendo, and we got to try
Exhausted the crap out of ourselves.
Yeah.
Position your arm whichever way you want.
We're going down, bro.
So now, just kind of doing the motions.
Okay, here we go.
Really calibrate for you now.
So badass.
Let me tell you, stop away. And also blocking at the edge, it does have a little like exclamation mark.
I smacked you in the face and head.
Oh my god!
Yes! Smack him in the face. Dan. Dan, get out of there! Get out of there! We got to try the
3
new.
strokes of the sword, and I was down for a day. What's that thing called?
I always forget.
Wii
Plus.
Wii Motion
Sports.
Plus.
Wii Motion
Wii Motion Plus. So there's a little concern of the fact that they released it without actually telling any of the developers. So the
Yeah.
developers all went, I guess we have to develop our games for this now.
I think everybody's gonna love the new Wii Sports, just like everybody loved the old Wii Sports. But I think again, it just like the first Wii Sports. My feeling about it is, it's like a proof of concept. Each of those mini games, I want a full sword game. I want to be able to play, because literally it just turns into like boxing. It just turns into knocking the person out of the ring rather than skillful blocking, and the potential is there.
Skillful blocking.
And then we got to play a little music.
We played N+.
Well, we should talk about the music, because that seemed to be one of their biggest announcements, and for me, I have to say, I was very disappointed with it.
It's not for me.
Well, but I own a Wii. Just because I also own other game consoles doesn't mean that game's not for me.
And plus, you got to see it for the DS.
I basically pwned you in my interview.
There was some pwning.
We'll have to look at that video on the tape later.
Yeah.
I have a friend who had a really difficult time playing. We got into a big argument over the controls about it being, I love the feeling of the floatiness, and some of the edges are harder to stick on. Like he had problems with, was that a design decision, or is that something that you guys are trying to improve upon the next thing?
That's a great question. That was as specific as a design decision as you can make.
Well,
it was fun.
It'll be in there.
I could not. I mean, if you enjoy the Xbox Live, you get more of that.
Right.
And there's some cool ways that they translated it.
I'm excited to play it on the DS.
Platforms.
And then finally, the last thing we did was we went to Sony Online.
Yes.
And we got to see the DC Universe MMO. Two MMOs,
Right.
yeah.
For
DC and the Agency.
Yeah.
The Agency coming in, I was a little worried wasn't going to be very good. I was pretty impressed with what they showed.
I walked out the exact opposite way. I was excited to see it. I walked in there and I was like, wow.
It's definitely an FPS.
MMO.
It's an FPS MMO.
To me, there's no MMO about it. I mean, so I can walk around and see people in the world, but then I can only have 4 people go in and do anything. That's not an MMO to me.
But the cool thing is, to me, it looked like as fun as playing Rainbow Six Vegas together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It looked as fun as I'm sniper guy, you're the da guy. As we played Gears
like
that way.
yeah.
And that's all. And it really looks like.
And it looked like it was
first-person
well
shooter.
designed.
Well, let's talk about the big
other one.
Let's talk about the big.
DC Universe MMO. We didn't get hands-on with it. We got to see a demo, but we
Comic-Con,
did
though.
get
We will
to
get hands-on
talk
at
with the
Comic-Con.
guys extensively, and it just feels like those guys get it.
Yeah.
Right? They really answered all of our questions directly. It seems like it's going to be a Crackdown with spells on a massive scale,
Yeah. I like
which. I mean, it's an action. They reinforced that it's going to be an action game. Crazy day one.
It's crazy day one. Tomorrow's going to be even more crazy for you guys. I'll be up in San Francisco shooting Dig Nation.
Okay, it's E3 day 2 completed of crazy hands-on stuff. We were sans Alex today because he had to go do Dig Nation stuff.
Couldn't use the sands of time to bring him back.
No.
We have audio issues, so I'm
Talking into my
there.
breasts.
Yeah.
Okay, we saw a cubic ass ton of games, had hands-on with most of them. I'm gonna actually even have to use a cheat sheet to remember everything. The first thing we did this morning was Microsoft.
Oh yeah.
Got to talk to Peter Molyneux about Fable 2.
Awesome.
Well, are you inspired by other games when making this, or are you inspired by other books or movies, or you know what I mean? What?
It's a good question. Games are a risky one to be inspired by. I mean, you always come away from a show like this at E3, and your overwhelming emotion is one of envy. You know, it's not a useful emotion. It's those bastards. They've got a dog as well. I don't believe it. I'm going to kill them. I can't believe that game looks so beautiful. And then you sort of sit back a minute and say, hang on a second, I'm just being envious here. This is just not a proper emotion. It's not inspiration. I think it's much better to get inspiration from films, and in fact, the film that really influenced the graphical style and some of the feel of Fable 2 was a film called Brotherhood of the Wolf, which has this really slightly dark tones to it.
Hands-on with Fable 2. I know you came away a little disappointed.
Well, yeah. I came away in love.
because I enjoyed playing the game. Felt great. I loved everything he said. He has a British accent, so he didn't have to say much.
Right, makes it always better.
But it all sounded intelligent and wonderful. And then I remembered post facto that there was an element that we learned about the game that made it less cool.
Right.
So the dog stuff all was great, but the problem is the co-op stuff,
which we were super excited about.
Right.
Yeah.
When you drop in to play co-op, you come in, you don't have your dog, and you come in as your buddy's henchman. So you help him progress his story, but you don't gain anything.
And then Halo Wars, we got a chance to see Halo Wars, which is the Halo-themed RTS. And, it's being designed from the ground up on the 360, so big, a RTS on a console. It's always about the control scheme, and everyone seems to think, this game or that game solved the problem of controlling an RTS on a 360. But honestly, I came away thinking they did a pretty good job with this game. The thing I liked the most that we saw today for the first time was jacking other units. Like in the FPS game, you can hop on a Wraith or something, and your guy can jack it and knock the driver out and take it over, and that enemy unit becomes a friendly unit. And then we went to Ubisoft, and we'll talk about the games that aren't Prince of Persia first. Far Cry 2, which we heard a lot of stuff about.
Leave it to Far Cry, who was the only one of the last crop to do that tropical.
Yeah, it started a trend of tropical games, actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
But now they did Africa, and it's got and it's beautiful, and it's a gorgeous setting, and it's a different setting, a unique setting.
And then Shaun White Snowboarding, which on the PS3 and 360, I think you'll agree, it seemed very vanilla and boring. It seemed like amped. But then I played it on the Wii with the balance board. It was fun.
Yeah.
But then, of course, all of that pales in comparison to when we walked into Prince of Persia.
Prince of Persia, amazing.
Yeah.
You should clarify something too. He said something very interesting. Not cell shaded. Basically, what the concept was they always have. You can see this even for movies. They have concept art,
right?
And then it gets transformed into the look of the graphics of the.
And it's
video
usually
game.
beautiful, painted,
that's drawn,
highly designed.
It's illustrated.
Yeah,
and that's basically what they said. It's not cel shaded. It's illustrated. So this is just the concept art moving, and the way they move. We were discussing the animation, that it's not realistic animation like you see in COD 4 or something.
It's so beautiful.
It's cartoony. It's like the way Aladdin or Tarzan moves in Disney.
Yeah,
movies.
I was reminded of Don Bluth stuff like Space Ace, and it was like kind of stretchy and last second grabs.
Right, yeah, exactly. And
amazing.
the way you move and the way you navigate, and it's open world navigation. That's what I love.
Completely open world.
Looks great.
Well, I walked out of Prince of Persia thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to see anything else at this show that rivals it. And then we walked into Force Unleashed at Lucasfilm. That game is gorgeous.
Yes.
Gorgeous.
One of the best looking games.
I mean, rumor has it that it's the most expensive game ever made, and I think you see as they say,
Yankees.
it's on the screen.
It's the Yankees.
Yeah. But it was fun. We played it.
Really fun.
Fun, right away, easy to pick up. And then we saw their other big title, Fracture.
Yes, which was famous in our show for creating the Blacks moment.
Yes. And I'd kind of heard bad things about it going into the show, about how it's kind of not where everyone thought it was going to be. I thought it looked great.
I thought it looked great too.
Yeah.
I thought it looked really cool. Yeah.
It's a little vanilla and generic, the story, but I mean the design.
I agree.
Okay, moving on. Sega. We walked into Sega, into the room where they were showing Bayonetta and Mad World. Subtle, understated games.
Just very, typical Wii fare. Mad World.
Mad World.
Yeah.
So if you don't know about Bayonetta and Mad World, they're both in their own very different ways. They don't even know the meaning of over the top. It's like violent, gory.
You take a.
This is Mad World.
Black and white, cell shaded, but the only color on screen is blood.
A lot of
And
it.
you basically walk around a street. It's like a Running Man style plot where you're inside a game. There's commentators on how you kill people,
which I found incredibly annoying.
I
think it was Greg Proops actually, who would be
I agree.
who would be reprising his role from episode 1.
I did think it was
Bayonetta, which looks kind of like Devil May Cry meets Darkstalkers, kind of, with a little bit of Sonic the Hedgehog rings like peppered in for
interesting
flavoring.
Yeah. I didn't really enjoy Devil May Cry that much, so it can end up being a game that I didn't like. But when you watch someone play it, it looks like I'm gonna have a ton of fun.
Then we saw Sonic Unleashed.
Yes, whatever that was.
It doesn't seem like there's any challenge. I mean, sometimes there's no challenge because the guys are so good at playing it when they're showing you.
Well, but that's how Sonic is. Sonic is almost just keep
Wasn't
up with the
originally,
game.
Was it? I love the way that looks and feels, but they never seem to be able to. When those moments happen, I'm not really playing. I'm just sort of happening. The other thing that blew us away.
Blew us away.
Like the most unexpected blowing us away thing.
We walked in there and I was like, oh crap, we walked in here and we didn't mean to.
Yes. I was like, oh, I walked into my parents' party.
Yeah. Empire Total War.
Okay. You gotta describe it. It's like walking over to in your grandfather's house and he's like building ships and bottles or whatever.
Yeah.
And that looks really boring. And you sit down and it's the most amazing thing ever.
It really was a completely unexpected surprise. It seems like an achievement, this game.
Describe the game.
It's war on every level, and we walked in and they started showing us the seafaring stuff, which I guess is a first for this series. I never played Rome Total War.
It's basically like a Age of Empires or Civilization in a sense. It's a real-time strategy game with
very deep and historically accurate. And you're controlling the ships, and then you can zoom in, and every single crew member on each ship is individually rendered, has AI that does stuff of what they would actually be doing on the ship.
Imagine SimCity, which is a more general game that many people have played, so it's a good reference. It's top down, you see all this, and you're plotting your strategy of building this and that, whatever, and then you zoom in and all the way in, and then you see the office workers in the buildings that you've just placed strategically. And this is because it's war. You're like planning your strategy.
And they all behave how they are supposed to behave. If I wish everybody could have sat in on that demo because it's so difficult to convey. So then we went to THQ, and we saw the new Red Faction.
That was cool. Yeah.
Interesting. It's going third person now. Red Faction was the game came out on PC and I think PS2. Yeah. And it was the geomod thing where you could blow holes in the ground. They've gone away from the geomod thing and gone to destructible buildings, and the buildings can be destroyed in incremental ways with just kind of hitting a wall down or breaking a brick by brick. Namco, we saw Afro Samurai. Based on the Sam Jackson cartoon, Samuel L. Jackson, I should say.
Similar art style to Prince of Persia, but
different enough.
Different enough to be all right.
Yeah.
Crazy slice that you can choose where on someone's body that you slice them in a cool black and white slow-mo mode. It looks like a ton of fun. Once again, could just be a redundant, repetitive beat 'em up, but maybe not. I mean, I hope it doesn't because it looks great.
We ended the day with Capcom. And I want, right now, as much as I love doing the show and talking about this stuff, I want to walk back in that room and sit down and play Street Fighter 4 on those gorgeous Japanese arcade cabinets that seated, and they have the sticks and the 6 buttons, and
it was pretty cool. It's a gorgeous game.
Gorgeous.
It's not. I
love it.
I don't know. It's something about that genre or something. I can't sink my teeth into.
I think Stevie, you were with me, right?
I didn't see that. Yeah. I don't. Maybe I don't have the skills because I don't know the skills.
You gotta have the skills to pay the bills.
Okay, but also.
Yep. Go ahead.
Capcom. Should we save? Well, okay. I'll tell you what. I was really taken aback by a game that I had no knowledge of.
Yeah.
Basically, The Rocketeer, the game.
It's called Dark Void.
Dark Void. Great premise, made by the people who made Crimson Skies.
Right.
You're a dude in a jetpack who flies around. It's made on the Unreal Engine. It's very Gears-ish. But the cool thing,
taking cover and shooting and stuff.
You take cover vertical because you're in your jetpack. You'll be flying up vertically and taking cover in vertical crevices on a mountain. You'll be shooting at guys as you're vertical. When you fly up underneath them, you'll grab them and throw them down.
Bionic Commando.
Fun Towns McGooligan.
Yes. The thing that's so great about this, and I've heard other people talk about it, but I didn't understand until I really played, is they don't do the Spider-Man thing. It's not press a button and swing. It's not easy to do the swinging mechanic. It actually takes skill and timing and
placement and
exactly
decision.
And I think that is actually a great decision.
I'm freaking this. That's gonna be a great game. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah,
beautiful. Yeah, but nobody cares about any of that stuff.
And you guys are eating your words about.
Yeah, no, I think it's
what
gonna be
you
awesome.
said about the trailer.
Yeah, the thing people care about when we say Capcom is Resident Evil 5. We played it. Dan, what'd you think?
Okay. Awesome. It's gonna be great. But you didn't give me the feeling that the other amazing games gave me.
It looks beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Splattering blood, zombies with mouths,
Great
and like
milieu. I love that setting.
yes.
But
And it seems slightly less racist this time.
yes,
A lot more white zombies than there used to be.
Yeah.
It's gonna.
Did you come away like you wanted to play more? Like I was like, I could stop playing right now.
Yeah, there was a little of that. I just wanted to get back and play Street Fighter 4.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I know.
That's
But
the point.
there are those games that are good for E3, and then there are those games that are good for when you're home by yourself. Because I know, having been to many E3s, that unfortunately, most of the games that I walk away from E3 going, that's the game that I think is amazing, it turns out that it was only amazing because in this specific situation, for playing it for 5 minutes, it really plays great for 5 minutes.
Right.
You know?
Speaking of that, let's go home.
Okay, we miss you, Alex.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here. This is like we can't even do an
this is so
explosion.
weird.
We just have to say bye.
See ya.
All right, E3 day 3. We got Alex back with us. This is day 3 of hands-on stuff.
Yes.
The first day was just press conferences.
I feel like you guys had so much fun without me yesterday.
We sort of did.
Yeah.
DBs.
Unfortunately.
Databases.
we're the database? You're a database, sir.
All right. Today was awesome.
Today was awesome. Yes, we started off with the queen mother of third parties, EA.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we saw
some great stuff
we
at
did see
EA.
some great stuff. We saw Spore,
Saw Spore.
which continues to impress as far as I'm concerned.
You know, I was gonna say that I wasn't as excited because there was a thing where when we sat down at the computer, we were able to go into any of the different iterations. You know, space,
Yeah.
civilizations, cells.
Which we talked about earlier on the show as being like the thing that they had announced.
But
yeah.
I have to say, I was actually happy at the fact that that's not true. You can go back after you've gone through, but
Very
you have to
surprising.
start at cell and go up. So we saw a lot of really great stuff, though.
Yeah, you were excited about Warhammer Online?
Warhammer Online. Well, I mean, Warhammer Online looks amazing. You know what I mean? Like when I even just looked over, I was
Amazing?
like, are you kidding me?
Decent.
Well,
Looks
but
good.
I'm coming from World of Warcraft, which is a 5-year-old game.
Well, I'm coming from Age of Conan, which is badass looking.
Well, that's, all right. I think it's trying to do things in a very interesting, different way because it's I think it really took a look at things that people complained about a lot in WoW and tried to fix them.
The other big deal is we got to get hands-on Mirror's Edge.
Well, you guys got to get
Well,
hands-on
that's
on
what I
it.
did.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
Did you puke?
I didn't puke.
That's a plus.
I got nauseated.
Yeah, I mean,
Did you really?
I'm sure I will
Most
be nauseous
definitely.
from playing just like as any other first-person shooter. It just, I found my bliss in taking breaks, and that's what helps.
Well, they have that dot in the center that's toggleable
Yeah, I
that
think
they're trying to use as a way to kind of stabilize
Tell you what, it feels great playing that thing. I don't know what your experience
That
was
game,
like.
you have to play.
The other rad thing, Dead Space.
Dead Space.
Dead
I was
Space is
blown
going-
away.
It's
blown
gonna
away.
be sick.
Yeah, it's the you're a miner in the future, and the S it's the F, and it's a survival horror game.
Event Horizon sort of milieu.
But I've always been a fan of those games that are average guy in an extraordinary situation rather than Space Marine in that situation. And it seems like they're really taking that. And exploring that idea. He's a miner, so you have mining tools that you use to create damage.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a rifle. You're going to have this mining implement that can be repurposed into creating damage. We also saw Tecmo Bowl.
Yes.
Which we haven't seen since we were 6.
Which was surprisingly
For the DS.
nostalgic.
Yeah. Nostalgic, yet I can't imagine any challenge.
I think it could be fun. Then we went to the WB, Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers.
Not the WB.
Yeah.
And we
Was
saw
Buffy playing?
yes.
Speaking of which, I finished the first trade.
We saw Project Origin, which is the sequel to Fear, not the named sequel, but it's the same team who did Fear. I know you guys
certainly
came out.
considered it a sequel, though.
Oh yeah,
Like,
they
I
had the
was
same
like,
name, same story. I mean, it was great.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Even though we've seen so many FPSs this E3, they're all sort of melding together. That is a standout for me.
Yeah.
There's just something about that bullet time, slow-mo stuff that is so satisfying.
Well, let's talk about
and-
when they got into a mech.
Yeah.
Plus, visually, it was really. I mean, it may not be.
No, you should say that. They
super-
got into a mech.
They got into a mech. Well, something that wowed me that I was actually sort of surprised about was Lego Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we enjoy the Lego games, but this seems like a game that I would actually really enjoy.
It's different enough. It's the guy kept saying we don't want it just to be a reskin of the Lego franchise.
First off, you are able to play the villains. There's 15 villain levels and 15 hero levels.
Right. And then we just got out of Sony. So we saw a lot of PS3 stuff. The game I'd like to start with is the one that surprised me the most, which is Fat Princess.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's craziness. It's this great cel-shaded, basically like Counter-Strike, but done from almost like a third-person isometric
Like
view.
Diablo.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna do 16-on-16 multiplayer. It's capture the flag, but the flag is a giant fat princess.
Well, she's not fat yet.
She doesn't start fat, but the team who's trying to protect the flag, ostensibly, is feeding her cake so she gets more difficult to carry around the level. But you, I know, were doing backflips about flour.
So is it similar to Flow, where it's just sort of this wonderful experience, or are there challenges to complete?
Well, basically the difference between Flow and Flower is Flow, all the levels kind of repeating itself,
Right.
But have a little different flavors. Flower is a completely different thing. Each level has completely different theme and rules and gameplay. So this level is definitely more like Flow, which is about exploration and relaxing. But we have levels about action and speed. You know,
It's you zooming around as
Still
petals
controlled
of a
by the
flower,
six-axis.
controlled by the six-axis, and you're just breezing by gorgeous fields that look like the Windows XP background, basically. I thought it would blow me away. It didn't blow me away, but it's just underneath that. I mean, I loved the feeling of it, and there's a little bit more of a clear obstacle. I wouldn't say challenge, but obstacle or goal, as opposed to Flow. You're sort of it's a collection game.
And they teased that there would be even more to that. That the levels would change from what we saw, and there would be unique new. Goals. And
it's just a really pleasant. It's a game that makes you feel good to play.
Should we talk about KZT?
Oh yeah, Killzone 2.
Killzone. I'm not a fan of playing first-person shooters on the PS3. Didn't really care for Resistance. I mean, I saw it play, but I played it a little bit. Same with Killzone. Killzone 2. Gorgeous
Yeah, it looks great.
I think it's the best.
Go ahead.
Might be best looking game.
Garnett Lee.
No, well you can't walk 5 feet without him.
going on,
Garnett.
fellas?
What's up?
What's up, dude?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
Big friend of the show, Garnett Lee from One Up Yours.
How are you? How are you?
How are you, buddy?
I have no microphone though, so there's
You're
not
probably-
Sorry, we got
picking
tons
it.
of mics.
You're coming hot. You're
Talking
coming
in
hot.
Dan's neck.
I'll talk Dan. Wow, that's a beautiful neck you have there.
What have you seen today that's blown you away?
So I was over listening to a bunch of different shows do their wrap-ups. Why is everyone forgetting about Little Big Planet?
We were just about to
We
talk
were just
about
about
it.
to talk
Why is
about
everybody
it.
forgetting about that game?
Dude, I had
You know why?
fun.
Because the newness has worn off, I think. It's lost a little of the surprising glow that it had.
You
The
weren't
section-
surprised by how they used it in that press conference?
No, it's
That
amazing. And supposedly
blew my mind.
2 days it took them to make that? That's pretty impressive
Yeah,
stuff.
about 2 days of
With the
sweatshop
developer,
workers.
and the developer of the game going, well, forget the actual UI, we'll just code it by hand.
Yeah,
You played around with it, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
It's
Dude.
so easy to use.
What'd you think of-
launch day for that game is the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Really, launch day is the beginning of when stuff starts happening. Because I think I was talking to Alex Evans, the guy from Media Molecule who formed the company, has been working on it for so long. They've only scratched the surface of what you can do with the creator part because they've been focused on building the game.
Wow.
Right,
They had
yeah,
to build the game. So now that they have the game built, they're like, well, let's see what happens.
Well, so how come they're not doing the beta that we can all give them content? Why not follow the Spore model and populate your world?
I can answer that really, really simply because they have so many bugs to squash. And the difficulty of building a game where you're letting people build stuff is you keep running into all these things that people haven't thought of yet.
Right.
So as you're a designer, you're working on this game, you have, I have this idea. Let's put in this deal where we can pull over textures from anything that people use and we can just bring it up. Well, you've got all these different technologies working together and trying to sort that out. If you don't have real testers, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
And it would probably lower the people's impressions because what would happen is you play it wouldn't work right, you find a bug, people would be complaining.
And there's so much buzz about it, you can only hurt yourself at this point, you know what I mean?
Right, don't worry, it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
What do you think of Home?
You know what I
know what you think of home.
Question, man.
Nothing has changed.
Politics.
Nothing has changed your mind.
No, nothing has changed my mind. Come on. At the press conference, right? At the press conference, 2 minutes talking about the stuff they should have done 2 years ago, making a unified login, doing all this stuff to support games, and then all that extra time at the end talking about the movie store, sandwiching a 20-second video of some beautiful vistas of home. Come live in the fantastic apartments of home.
I'm not clear on what I'm supposed to do.
Hang out.
With it.
Come on, it's social.
It's a chat skin. That's what it is. It's
No, it is what it is.
But it's a fancy skin.
It's very fancy.
You see, I think what you're seeing, I think one of the delays behind home is that other people ask that question, what do I do here? Right?
Yeah.
When they first showed it at GDC, they showed all the sponsored worlds. And does that look, do you really want to go into a virtual world that's a Nike basketball court to look at Nike shoes? And no. I think the deal is that part's gone. You can see they've made these themed rooms now around like Warhawk and
Which is cool.
and Resistance.
I enjoyed that, where you can go into a room and get your friends together. You can muster in
But
a
you don't need
themed
home
space.
for that.
Yeah.
You don't need home for that. You just need different environments.
But it
to go
might
into.
make it. I mean, I could see.
All you
it's
need is
very
an
pleasant.
avatar and a party system.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry. What were you
That's
saying?
funny. No, I was just saying, it does seem very pleasant. Like, I wouldn't mind. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind doing that. We were talking before.
we could do
doing that instead of using my crossbar. Just sort of. When we're hanging out before we're ready to play a game, we're waiting for Alex to hop in or whatever. Me, you, and Garnett, we're waiting to start playing a four-player game, whatever.
Yeah.
That's where we hang out and talk for a little bit. I theoretically could do that. I probably won't, but I might. I don't know.
Okay, so before I bounce, you were talking
yes.
about creative. Did you guys play Flower?
Yes,
Yeah,
We just talked about Flower. And what blew you away about it?
What blew me away was when I was done playing the game, I was smiling and I was relaxed.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty much what Dan said.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It's like taking a shit.
I think that's the subtext.
You fertilize.
Very beautiful, flowery shit where you fly it around with your 6-axis controller.
Is there any, even non-Sony stuff, is there anything that you saw today that you loved?
Or
that
all
you
week,
was
because-
surprised, or all week, surprised you?
Well, I mean, you guys talked about Gears of War 2 yet?
We didn't.
I think it's fascinating to see the Gears of War 2 and Resistance 2 showings. Both of them showed really well.
Yeah.
And
What about Killzone? What about
Killzone?
We're impressed with Killzone.
What are all the first-person shooters that we've seen this
as a whole freaking.
You guys are all about the pretty blonde, aren't you?
Yep.
Killzone?
He's co-hosting our show.
I can't get away from
I was actually just going to say I think Killzone 2 is the best-looking first-person shooter that we've seen. We've seen a shit ton. The best graphically.
The engine is gorgeous.
Yeah.
They're only rendering concrete. There's a lot of concrete.
There were rainbows. I saw rainbows.
You saw rainbows.
I saw rainbows in water.
Is that because we're only seeing this
I don't know.
little bit?
I don't know. That's the thing I always hate in this business is just seeing those little bitty slices.
The windows
because
not
it's
knowing the
so hard to
scope,
tell what you're actually going to get out of the game. You try to read too much into it. Same thing happening with Resident Evil 5, right?
Yeah.
People are saying, "Oh, Resident Evil 5 is not
I wasn't
good."
in the Resident Evil 5, I have to say.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of fun playing it.
That's all I need.
Yeah, but I don't know. I enjoyed it, but I didn't have that feeling of when we walk out, it was like I want to play more like Left 4 Dead or
Because
whatever.
it's just one little snippet. Jump back. Think about Resident Evil 4 for a minute.
Yeah.
And if you took one section out of Resident Evil 4, you'd probably go, all right, there's some guys and
it's
zombies and
some of its parts.
Exactly. It's a big game.
And that's how I felt about Fallout 3 too. I almost didn't want to play it because I want to have that experience fresh and complete when I take it home and spend 100 hours on it.
Absolutely. So back to Resistance 2 though, real quick.
Okay.
Resistance 2, Gears of War 2, both of them great games, really buoying their platforms. Gears this time out, the level they showed, unlike the level I'd seen before, showed a really good grasp of the design. It seems like they've really matured. They have, multiple levels going on. They incorporated that cinematic feel within the game, but it was quick. Exactly. When the elevator to the bottom floor dropped, the floor dropping out, and the Brumac outside. And that was all really artfully put into the level. It wasn't too long, it wasn't too short, it made its point.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you got to have some hands-on with Horde mode. Thumbs up?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. So Horde mode's like the terrorist hunt, and it's in Rainbow Six Siege, where it's 5-player co-op, but it's not story. It's co-op against just waves and waves of opponents.
8-player co-op? Is that what they said?
Up to 5 players.
Up to 5.
Yeah.
And don't forget this, that they have a group system now in Gears of War 2. People jumped right past that. So all that party system that you wanted out of Halo, that you didn't have in Gears, they have it this time. So you're going to be able to jump in.
But my new dashboard update's going to have that on its own.
All right. Well,
I'm so glad you jumped in. It's great. Garnett Lee from One Up.
Thanks. We'll see them too.
No, you're gonna give us a fist bump out, baby.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Let's do it.
Boom.
Yeah.
So before we say adieu, we'd like to thank our sponsors. NVIDIA Envision 08 is sponsoring us this week. This is it, the biggest LAN party in the history of LAN parties. 3 uninterrupted days of gaming.
They're actually trying to break a record,
including
right?
a Guinness Book of World Record break for GeForce LAN Party, 2008 World Cup. Video game World Cup, which is amazing. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash and prizes. They're giving away cash and prizes. Amazing.
Wait, cash
and prizes. Not to mention a whole slew of other events anyone can see. Come one, come all. That said, go to Envision2008.com. I want to make sure I get this right. www.envision. That's so much easier. To register for early bird rates, then get your butt down to San Jose, August 25th through the 28th for 55 hours of jaw-dropping visuals. Check it out.
Also, check out GoDaddy.com. They're a great place to go if you want to get a domain name. These started $1.99. Are you out of your mind?
Hey, that rhymed.
They have easy hosting options, startup software. They have long-term deals, so you can get locked into a rate for a long term. It's super sweet. Also short-term deals if you don't want to do that.
Even sweeter.
And they have privacy options, so you don't have to have your information public, so anybody that looks at your website knows where your address is. You know, that's good too.
Do you love it?
Also, there's, of course, online renting with Netflix. Netflix.com is, I was just thinking, can we say, is like going to be available on Xbox
we can,
360?
because
like
we've done our E3.
Instant play, we saw at E3.
Watch now.
Watch now.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
But yes, Netflix is online renting. They have over 75,000 titles, including Blu-ray titles. One flick I could recommend, I'm trying to think of my favorite documentaries.
Super Size Me.
And one that is into the teen stuff. Super Size Me is great.
King of Kong.
King of Kong we love. I was gonna say there's a documentary called Devil's Playground. I think it's called Devil's Playground
about the Amish people who leave for the kids.
Rumspringa.
I think it is called.
I have one to say that I don't know if it's on DVD yet, but Young at Heart.
Not on DVD,
with the singers,
but yes.
not on DVD, but still.
But you can add on Netflix. You could hit save.
Where were they?
And when it
look
comes
at you with
out,
your features.
Yeah.
Amazing. Where were they going to get such crazy features?
Well, they could go to Netflix.com, but I also got to tell them that there's 40 shipment centers. So when you put any of these movies we mentioned at the top of your queue, you're going to get it basically the next day. Plans start as low. You stow your plan on the battleship,
conveniently under your seat.
Yes. Yeah. Plans start as low as $4.99. You can get a 2-week free trial. You get a 2-week free trial if you go over to www.netflix.com/TRS.
Amazing.
No email this week.
No email this week because we're just crammed in as much.
But I do have a quick question for you guys.
Shoot.
One word or one phrase of your favorite thing you saw at E3.
I'm gonna say
phrase.
My favorite phrase that I saw at E3 was. No, I'm gonna say. I'm thinking on Left 4 Dead. I'm so excited to play that game. It's
Yes.
funny.
Damn.
Nancy, only one. Say it.
No, Left 4 Dead.
No, only one. Say
N
it.
plus.
Okay, N plus.
For the DS.
Flower.
Moving on. Jeff.
Prince of Persia. You said right. Mine.
Total War, Empire, and Prince of Persia.
Dude, first off, you cannot do that, sir.
Those are my picks.
You know what my pick?
Because I have 5 that I'd like to say.
You know what my pick is? The best thing I saw at E3? The Who live. Amazing, the Rock Band party.
Oh, that's right, I forgot.
The Who played for like the small group of people, and it was insane.
What about
like
game?
the real
What
The
about
Who. Prince of Persia. Force Unleashed.
Why are you doing the list? You said
sorry.
one.
I did say one.
Force Unleashed.
I was gonna say The Who, but I also want to say, you saw Garnett Lee step in and hang out with us.
You stepped in and hung out with them.
I did. You should go, if you're not already listening to One Up Yours and the One Up Show on the One Up Network, you probably don't care about video games, but if you do care about them, you should be listening to those shows anyway.
Agreed.
But as an added incentive, this week I hung out this crazy 3-hour poolside episode of One Up Yours. It had like all these, the who's who of video game journalists and game designers.
He was like
and
Dean
stuff.
Martin over there.
Yeah.
So go over there and check it out, and those are like the nicest bunch of guys in gaming. So
Now be prepared, people. Next week, Comic-Con. live Friday night, 7:15 in room 7-8B. Be there, be square, for the people that are going to be there.
This is very exciting.
We are going to be giving away a souvenir image drawn specifically for us by an amazing artist who's now at Marvel, right?
Well, we're gonna tease this. We're not gonna say exactly what it is.
All right.
But there is a super secret X-Men project coming in January from Marvel, and he's the artist. So if you want to do a little sleuthing, you find out who it is. We're gonna announce it at Comic-Con who it is. We're gonna have these. He drew us
amazing images. So we thought we would reproduce them and give them as little souvenirs for everybody that shows up to our first official live show. Also, after the live show, we're all going to be heading down to Bar Basic in San Diego. So if you didn't get your pass in time and it was sold out, unfortunately, you can meet us after the show. It'll be about 9:15 that we're going to be done at Bar Basic in San Diego. I am so freaking excited for Comic-Con.
Me too.
Do we know if 18 and under?
Probably
we should have already known. Yeah.
Wait, what was last year? Whatever the rules were last year.
It's a bar, so probably only 21 up, but
website stuff, right? Let's not forget TotallyRatchet.com forums.
Go ahead, do it.
No.
TotallyRatchet.com
say your thing,
forums.
'cause then I have to.
Email fans at TotallyRatchet.com. MySpace.com/TotallyRatchet for the movie that we're going to see or review.
Backgrounds or
we don't really have that movie, you know, because we're going to be talking about Comic-Con stuff. We're going to talk about Dr. Horrible.
Yep.
We're going to talk about Generation Kill. So TiVo that, watch that now, the new show from The Wire on HBO. We're going to talk about Avatar season finale.
Possibly, we're not sure. I haven't seen any of that
Yeah.
stuff. Let's quit announcing stuff that we haven't done.
Yeah.
Next
we will
week.
see you at Comic-Con. That's it for this week's edition of the Totally Rad Show. I'm Alex Albrecht.
I'm Jeff Canada.
I'm Dan Trachtenberg. Follow us on Twitter. Danny TRS.
Jeff Canada, Alex Albrecht, Steve TRS. We'll see you.
See you next week.
San Diego.
Where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Got with that crazy guy. Dan.
Good. I'm trying to get the rhythm.
You're doing good.
Dan.
Okay, here we go.
No,
you're doing good. Keep
I gotta get the
going.
rhythm.
I know what you're playing.
No, I'm just about to get in, but I gotta hear it.
Okay, now we made fun of Dan, and now let's do the game.
Okay, here we go.
Dan.
You gotta keep going. I gotta get into it. No, I'm not. I will. I'm serious.
Dan.
Alex.
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 Are both douchebags.
Alex.
Dan.
Alex.
Douchebags.
Dan. You can't even
Say
douchebags. You're a douchebag.
All right, here we go. All right,
Florent Mollet, Sancerre de Roc de l'Abeille, 2007, 20 American Bones. Now this is even more beautiful on the nose than the last one. This comes a little bit with white flour, almost like coconut peel, believe it or not, on the nose that I like quite a bit. I want to go with like charred pear, if that makes any sense, almost like putting pear on a barbecue pit. Ooh, this is, I want to bite my nose off right now and eat it because the scents are so delicious. This legitimately feels like I went to a pond, pulled out a rock, and licked it. That kind of minerality is interscoped into this gorgeous brouhaha chaos of an interesting white wine. Sauvignon Blanc at its finest right here, my friends. 20 bones, 91 plus points. Special Sauvignon Blanc. I like it quite a bit. And I think it pairs tremendously, not only with oysters, but with light octopus salad, for example.